What if I told you that reacting impulsively is the one habit keeping you from peace, and the Stoics figured out how to fix it 2,000 years ago? Imagine this: Rome, 65 AD. Seneca, the great philosopher, stands in his villa, quill in hand, writing letters of wisdom to a world on the edge. Outside, the streets hum with tension. Emperor Nero's unpredictable wrath grows stronger by the day. Seneca knows his time is running out. His own student, now a tyrant, could turn on him at any moment. Across the empire, Marcus Aurelius, not yet emperor, scribbles private thoughts in his tent, surrounded by the chaos of war and a creeping plague that threatens to swallow Rome whole. And far away, Epictetus, once a slave, teaches a small group of eager minds, his voice steady despite the scars of a life he couldn't control. These men faced a world ready to collapse, yet they found a secret, a way to train the mind, to rise above the storm, to respond with clarity when everything screamed for chaos. What did they know that we've forgotten? Stay with me, because their answer could change everything.
Picture this: Rome, April 65 AD. Lucius Annaeus Seneca, the silver-tongued philosopher and advisor to emperors, sits in his dimly lit villa on the outskirts of the city. The air is heavy with the scent of olive oil and parchment. Hours earlier, a messenger arrived with a scroll bearing Nero's seal, an order for Seneca's death. The charge? Conspiracy in the Pisonian plot to overthrow the emperor he once tutored. His friends weep, his wife Paulina pleads to join him, but Seneca, his hands steady, his breath even, waves them aside. He calls for a quill and begins to write his final letters, words of wisdom that will echo through centuries. How could he remain so calm? The answer lies in decades of training his mind to respond, not react. Years before, he'd faced exile to Corsica under Claudius, a barren rock where most would crumble. Yet he used it to sharpen his thoughts. He'd watched Nero's temper flare, power twist into cruelty, and still he held firm, knowing rage would change nothing. This was Stoicism in action, the art of seeing what can be controlled, his mind, his purpose, and letting go of the rest. As the soldiers approach to enforce Nero's command, Seneca doesn't curse fate. He opens his veins with precision, dictating to scribes until his voice fades, a final act of defiance through composure. His life was ending, but his peace, untouched. Today you'll learn how to do the same when life throws chaos your way, whether it's a betrayal, a loss, or a moment that tests your soul. The Stoics didn't just endure, they mastered themselves. And so can you. Understanding reaction versus response. Let's begin with the heart of Stoic wisdom, the difference between reacting and responding. To the Stoics, reacting is emotional chaos, a storm that sweeps you away before you can think. Responding? That's a deliberate choice, a steady hand on the helm no matter the waves. Marcus Aurelius, emperor of Rome from 161 to 180 AD, knew this well. While leading armies against Germanic tribes along the Danube, he wrote in his private journal, later called Meditations, these words: "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." Picture him in a tent, the wind howling, reports of battles and plague piling up, yet he sits, pen in hand, choosing clarity over despair. Now bring this to today. You're stuck in traffic, horns blaring, frustration rising. A reaction might be slamming the wheel, shouting at no one, emotional chaos. A response? You take a breath, count to 10, and ask, what can I do here? Maybe it's turning on a podcast or planning your day. The Stoics teach us that the pause is power. That 10-second gap, try it next time you're triggered, shifts you from a pawn of fate to a master of your mind. I've done it myself, standing in a long line, feeling the irritation build, then choosing to observe it instead. It works. Have you ever regretted a quick reaction? Drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear your story. The dichotomy of control. Now, let's dig into a cornerstone of Stoicism, the dichotomy of control, straight from Epictetus, a man born a slave in Hierapolis around 50 AD. He said, "Some things are within our power, while others are not." After years in chains under a brutal master, Epictetus gained freedom and taught this truth in Rome. Your opinions, your actions, your will, these are yours. The weather, others' choices, the outcome of your efforts, not yours. Imagine him, limping from a leg once broken by his enslaver, speaking to students in a modest room, unshaken by a past he couldn't change. Fast forward to today. Your flight's delayed. 2 hours, then 3. You could pace, fume, check the board endlessly. But what's in your power? Not the plane. Instead, you pull out a notebook, list what you can control, your patience, your next step. Maybe you read, call a friend, or sketch out tomorrow's plan. I've been there, stuck at an airport watching tempers flare around me, and I chose to write instead of worry. Epictetus would nod at that. Try this. Next time stress hits, grab a pen, draw a line down the page, one side for what you can control, the other for what you can't. Focus on the first, let the rest go. What's one thing you can let go of today? Let me know below. It's a step toward freedom. Amor fati, love your fate. Next, we come to amor fati, love your fate. It's a phrase Nietzsche borrowed from the Stoics, writing in 1882. My formula for greatness is amor fati, that one wants nothing to be different. But let's go back to Marcus Aurelius, who lived it. From 165 to 180 AD, the Antonine Plague ravaged Rome, killing millions, some say up to a fifth of the empire. Marcus watched soldiers die, citizens starve, his own children fall ill, yet he led, he wrote, he endured. In Meditations, he urged himself to accept each moment as if he'd chosen it. Picture him on the frontier, staring at a plague-stricken camp, choosing purpose over despair. Now think of your life. A project fails, a friend drifts away, a plan crumbles. Amor fati says don't just tolerate it, embrace it. That failure, a lesson. That loss, a chance to grow. I've tried this. When a deadline slipped, I told myself, this delay is my chance to practice patience. It's not easy, but it's liberating. Reframe your next setback. This is my training ground. Marcus turned a plague into purpose. You can turn chaos into strength. Hit like if you're ready to embrace life's challenges like a Stoic. I know you've got it in you. Building mental discipline. How do you make this stick? Through mental discipline, the daily work of a Stoic. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are pained by external things, it is not they that disturb you, but your own judgment." He practiced this on the battlefield, but also in quiet moments. One tool, negative visualization, imagining hardship before it strikes. Picture him rising at dawn, 170 AD, the camp silent, mentally preparing for betrayal, loss, death. Not to despair, but to be ready. Another, journaling. His meditations weren't for us, but for him, a mirror to his soul. Today you can do this. Before a tough day, say a big meeting, visualize it going wrong. The client snaps, the tech fails, then plan your response. I've done it, picturing a hard talk, then walking in calm anyway. At night, spend 5 minutes reflecting. What did I control well today? Write it down. I started this habit a year ago, and it's like training a muscle. Clarity grows. The Stoics built resilience daily. You can too. Do you journal your thoughts? Share your routine? I'm curious to hear what works for you. Responding in real life. Finally, let's bring it home. Responding in real life. Seneca wrote, What need is there to weep over parts of life? The whole of it calls for tears. He faced exile, Nero's wrath, his own end, yet he acted with intention. Take work. Your boss critiques your project harshly. A reaction is snapping back or sulking. A response? Listen, assess. Is there truth here? Then reply calmly or adjust your work. I've been there, swallowing pride after feedback, and it paid off. A better outcome, a stronger me. Or relationships. A friend cancels plans again. Instead of resentment, accept it. Then decide. Reach out or let it be. This is the art of acquiescence. Accept what is, then act deliberately. Seneca didn't waste tears, he shaped his legacy. You can shape yours, whether it's uncertainty at work, tension at home, or a curveball you didn't see coming. Practice this. Next time life tests you, pause, accept, respond. It's Stoicism in motion. Subscribe if you want more Stoic tools to master your mind. I've got plenty to share. Today we've traveled through the wisdom of the Stoics, men like Seneca, Epictetus, and Marcus Aurelius, who faced empires crumbling, plagues raging, and death itself, yet found a way to rise above. We covered how to stop reacting and start responding. First, with the dichotomy of control, focusing only on what's in your power, letting the rest fall away like dust. Then, amor fati, loving your fate, turning every challenge into a forge for your strength. And finally, mental discipline, the daily practice that builds a mind unshaken by life's storms. The Stoics didn't just survive chaos, they thrived in it, carving peace from a world on fire. You can too, whether it's a delayed flight, a sharp word, or a day that tests your core. This isn't theory, it's a path, one I've walked and one you're starting now. If you want to learn how to build unshakable Stoic discipline, how to stand firm when everything else falters, watch this video next. It's a game changer, and it's waiting for you. Marcus Aurelius left us this. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Let that sink in. If this resonated with you, hit like. It's a small act with big meaning, and share it with someone who needs Stoic wisdom in their life. We're in this together.